September is finally here, marking the imminent end of the summer, a deterioration in your flowering displays, and the first sense of autumnal decay. Perhaps more importantly, it marks my new hat, so it gets to hide my microphone a little bit more. It still looks like a big lump on my head, but anyway. Was that too dramatic? Shall I do it again? Now, while many people's gardens are starting to come to an end, they're looking a little bit run down, this doesn't mean that there isn't plenty of work to do. And if you can get that work right, you can actually keep the quality of your garden continuing on until the end of October. So this video is discussing those common mistakes that you want to avoid when it comes to gardening in September. Let's get on with the first one. This mistake to avoid is to take your eye off the ball when it comes to deadheading your plants. Certain plants such as your dahlias, bedding geraniums, marigolds, canna lilies, there's plenty out there to choose from. Not all plants that are in flower, but certainly those ones that will continue to initiate new blooms should the old blooms and seed heads be removed. If you keep on this now, you can encourage your plant to keep on flowering really until November. It won't be such a good display because they will run out of steam, but for September they'll just keep on going. So deadheading. Before you start liberally cutting into your plants, always make sure you've sterilized your blades first. Now, you can do this by using a rubbing alcohol and a cloth. You can pick rubbing alcohol at most DIY stores and easily online. If you don't want to do that, you can make yourself your own dilution using water and bleach. Check online to find out what the concentration dose is, and when you do that, make sure that you wash off the blade so you're not getting into the wounds that horrible chemical, because you know, it is damaging. That's why it kills off all your viruses, fungal spores and bacterial infections. So there you go, you don't want to be transferring that along. Now, just a point of technique: when you are deadheading, don't just remove the old flower and the new seed head. Also take it down to the base of the stalk. Otherwise you can have all these horrible snaggy bits of stem sticking up, and that will detract from your ornamental display. So there you go. First mistake to avoid: don't take your eye off the ball. Keep on with that deadheading. This next mistake is regarding you fertilizing your plants. Now we're into September, really you want to stop using those high nitrogen fertilizers such as Phosphagen and my personal favorite, Miracle Grow. I'm not sponsored for Miracle Grow, it's just my personal favorite. You can choose it or not choose it, I really don't mind. All that is happening at this time of year, if you are feeding a high nitrogen food, is that your plants will be encouraged to produce this new soft growth, and that will give you two problems. Firstly, the biting insects will love that new soft growth. They'll be on it like a rash, they'll be biting into it, and not only will they be sucking out the sap, reducing the vigor of your plants, aphids are also vectors of other diseases such as your viruses, fungal infections and bacteria. So if you've got infected plants in the vicinity and your aphid is on it biting and it flies off and lands on yours and bites into it as well, they can easily become infected. I mean, a particular one is that old canna virus. That's a bad one. So that's the first thing. Stop using that to reduce the waste of resources and the risk of infection from these insects. And secondly, if you're somewhere where there is no way that all this soft growth is going to harden off before the first frost come, then all that resource that's gone into producing that soft growth has just been wasted, because the whole thing will be shriveled up and dead. Absolute waste of time. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't feed your plants, but I would say come away from high nitrogen and use a low nitrogen fertilizer such as a Tomarite or a seaweed fertilizer. And to be honest with you, really, come the end of September, I would advise stopping feeding altogether. There really is no point. So there you go, fertilizer. A bit more technical, but really good advice. Oh, hold on a minute. If you're finding this video useful or even just mildly amusing, then don't forget to click the thumbs up, press on that subscription, and if you want to be notified of whenever we release a new video, then click on that notification bell. It helps us more than you know, and it allows us to do stupid visits like this in the future. Anyway, let's continue to find out what old boiled butt has to say. I've got bloody glasses back on. Too hot, too sunny. It's too lovely. Now that the cooler weather of September has arrived, you might be thinking about doing some of that remedial tree work that you've been promising yourself to do all flipping year. Now, no, it's not really the time to do that, and in particular it is definitely not the time to start cutting into these trees. So that is your stone fruit trees. You had that opportunity last month, the month before, when the weather was hot and dry. Now in September and the rains are going to come, you have missed the boat, and the reason is this: it's going to be far too humid, far too wet. It's going to be at risk now from picking up fungal infections and bacterial diseases. The ones that I'm thinking of are your silverleaf. That's a horrible little thing. You cannot spray for it. If you've got it, you're gonna have it. Your plant will die. And bacterial canker, another horrible thing. Again, you can't spray for it. You might be able to cut out enough of the wood to prevent it from moving further into the tree, but then you'll be losing shape. You're ruining your tree. So just don't do it. I'm not going to go any further into that. I've mentioned it enough times, but it's an absolute no-no. Do not cut your stone fruit trees. So we're talking about plums, apricots, cherries, ornamental cherries, damsons, that whole group of trees that are in the Prunus genus. Now, put up your hands if you love lavender. We all do. Most of us do. Some of us do. I know you don't, but we're not including you. September is your last opportunity to prune back your lavender. You want to take back all of the flowering spikes, unless you want to keep the seeds, otherwise just get rid of those. And you also want to cut just into the green wood. Do not cut into the brown wood. You could kill the plant, or at the very best, you're just going to have some weak, gappy growth. It's pointless. Just don't do it. So lavenders is your last chance to cut. Rosemaries are your last chance to cut. All the same technique, and your thymes last chance to cut. All of these, never cut into the brown wood. Always trim back into the live growth. That will give you a flush of growth now, but there's plenty of time for that growth to harden off before the first frost comes. And next year, it's on that new growth, you'll get all those lovely buds again. So it's a well-timed job. Do it now, or don't do it at all. Do it now, because if you listen to these people who say cut your lavender in the spring, that's a terrible idea. You're putting fresh cuts into a plant at a time of year when fungal spores are bouncing about due to the spring rains, and you wonder why your lavenders die later on in the year. Well, that's the reason why. You cut it at the wrong time of year. I have a couple of mistakes regarding flowers. This first one is regarding spraying your plants with insecticides while they are still in flower. Don't do that. That's really, really bad. The problem with these systemic insecticides is that the active chemical will be absorbed into the plant, and it travels around the entire plant, including the pollen and the nectar. So if you have beneficial insects visiting your plants, such as your bees, your lacewings, all the rest of them, they will be taking the pollen, they'll be taking the nectar, they'll be ingesting it, and they will die because the toxin is inside that. So by spraying flowering plants, you are killing off the beneficial insects. Yes, the population crash of insects is your fault. Don't do it. Right, let's get on to the next thing regarding flowers and pollinating insects. So let's be honest, many people's gardens aren't particularly floriferous in September. Majority of people buy their plants in the spring, and the garden centres sell plants that are in flower in the spring. So you've purchased all your plants, you spent a ton of money, because garden centres are a complete rip-off nowadays. You planted your garden off, it looks fine for a while, and a few weeks later you just got a green garden, not much is going on. Now this doesn't help you, doesn't give you the enjoyment you deserve, and also doesn't help beneficial insects that need access to pollen and nectar for as long a season as they can possibly get. So if you have no flowering plants in your garden, then beneficial insects are not getting the food they require in order to overwinter, breed, all that old flannel over the winter time period. So pop down to the garden centre, see what is seasonally in flower, and plant some of these out in your garden to extend your flowering season, to give you more enjoyment, and to help the pollinating insects of this country. There you go, you've been told. In fact, let me tell you, perhaps one of the best plants for late nectar production are your Sedum spectabilis. There's a big range to choose from. They are extremely drought tolerant, require full sun to partial shade, which is not in the RHS, but ours are in partial shade and still look fantastic. But if you want the very best out of them, full sun, nice free draining soil, they'll flower right at the end of the year, produce a bundle of nectar for your bees and pollinating insects. It's a great plant. Do it. Do it. Now, like I say, we're in September, things are slowing down, the days are shorter, the nights are cooler, and plants aren't as vigorous as they once were. This includes your weeds. Now, you should never let your guard down when it comes to weeding your gardens. You might not have so many in there, they might not be as vigorous, but if they are still flowering and producing seeds, just because you're not seeing these weed seeds germinating and making a mess in the garden, that does not mean they're not there to overwinter and then come back with an absolute passion in the spring. So always keep an eye on weeds. Just because things are slowed down, do not think I don't need to do so much work. Just keep on top of it. The more you do now, the less you have to do later, and really come the spring when there's more important jobs to do, you don't want to be taking up time in your day weeding then, which you should have been doing now. So weeding, it's always on the cards, always deal with it. And don't forget, with your perennial weeds, it's not enough just to take the top off, you've got to dig out them roots, because it'll just bounce back. Yeah, weeding, it's a permanent fixture on the gardening calendar. This next mistake is regarding your slugs, and you're probably going to be surprised to hear me say this, considering how much I detest these little monkeys, despite the RHS saying that slugs are no longer considered a gardening pest. What the flip are you talking about, RHS? This is my current thinking. With many of your plants, herbaceous plants, starting to die back into the soil, does it really matter if the slugs are going to eat them, if the foliage is going to be dying off quite soon anyway? So you could argue, well, yes, because that means they're still going to be active, still breeding. But consider this: we're going into the autumn period. You have a lot of native wildlife that actually eat the slugs, such as your frogs, toads, some birds like your thrushes, hedgehogs. They need to build themselves up with food reserves to fatten up in order to survive the winter. So if you are still maintaining your slug management now, during this crucial time when these creatures are trying to build themselves up to cope with the cold, then you're doing your native wildlife a disservice. Now, this is at odds to what I normally say, but I'm feeling a little bit more emotional in my older age. So consider the wider wildlife around where you live. Allow them to have at least a little bit of slug dinner to keep them going. I'm all heart, me. I'm all heart. Now September is a golden opportunity. What was that? September is a golden opportunity to do a time sensitive sowing job, and that's to get some hardy seeds into the ground to give you displays next year. So there's plenty to choose from, including a selection of vegetable seeds and salad seeds, although I'm not really interested in that because nobody watches those videos on this channel. So we're talking about hardy geraniums, we're talking about delphiniums, we're talking about Californian poppies. There are plenty of others. You've got a short window of opportunity. September is the perfect time to get these in the ground, so don't miss that opportunity. If these are plants you want to grow, then you can buy them in seed. It'll be a big selection and it will save you a ton of money compared to buying them as full-size plants in the spring. So there you go. And while I'm on the subject, September is also the time those first batches of spring flowering bulbs come into the shops, and that is the best time to buy those too. Don't wait till later on when you feel like it, when you've done your research. The thing is this, they're all lifted now. During the driest part of the year, all the producers, they're lifting them out of the ground, packing them up, sending them out. They will stay in those packets until somebody buys them. So from now until when you buy them, which could be next year, they're drying out and losing quality, losing vigor, and if that happens then they may not flower. So to get the best displays out of spring flowering bulbs, you buy them as soon as you can. The garden centres will have them in the shops this month. Keep an eye out for them. So there you go, those are my garden mistakes to avoid in September. But I realise that we have many viewers who aren't from the UK. We have a big population from the United States. We have decent populations from Canada, from Australia, and of course gardening is going to be different in those places. So if you have got any great mistakes that you should be avoiding making in the garden in September, then be my guest. Put those into the comments section. We have a lot of people reading through these nowadays, talking to each other, some great advice, a little bit of cheekiness. I don't mind that either. I do quite enjoy reading them, and at the moment we don't have so many that I can't reply to pretty much every single one of you, just so long as that comment isn't lost in the unfathomable mess that is YouTube. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully we'll see you in the next video. It's goodbye from me. Stop following me. Right, now, just before you go, if you want to see more content, more behind the scenes stuff, and images that I've taken of some weird freaky plants over the years, then you're in luck, because we have created an Instagram page. So you can find the link in our description, you can find the link on our main page, and if I'm clever enough I might be able to get a link somewhere up there. Anyway, thank you for watching, and if you want to see more YouTube stuff, then check out this video here. That's quite a good one. And if it doesn't float your boat, then another one right there. And enjoy these while I've still got the strength, imagination and aptitude to make them. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.